Had there been these horrible things, and had there been these horrible text messages, had there been this horrible information, that stuff would have been put out there too.
She states that Mr. Baldoni put his bare hands on her backside and said that he was trying to help her with her posture.
Ryan Reynolds, the name synonymous with Hollywood charm and box office gold, has just experienced a career implosion of epic proportions. Deadpool fans worldwide are reeling in disbelief as whispers turn to shouts. Reynolds, the man who embodied the wisecracking, red-suited anti-hero, has been ousted from the franchise, replaced by none other than Justin Baldoni. And if losing his signature role wasn't humiliating enough, the ever-outspoken Joe Rogan has added fuel to the fire, publicly dissecting Reynolds' downfall with brutal commentary that echoes across the internet. This isn't just a minor celebrity squabble. It's a seismic shift in Hollywood power dynamics, a stark fall from grace that has left Reynolds' superstar status teetering on the brink.
In Blake's first amended complaint, Blake changed what she alleges about what happened while filming the slow dance scene, now that the footage has been released for everyone to see. So what they're saying is, now that, Justin Baldoni shared the truth of what it looks like, they're no longer making the same claims. Previously, they said Miss Lively was filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Of course, Justin proved there was sound. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Miss Lively out of character as himself.
The Hollywood grapevine is buzzing with a single, shocking narrative. Ryan Reynolds, once untouchable, has been unceremoniously dumped from the Deadpool franchise, a role he not only owned, but practically resurrected. Whispers from studio insiders paint a picture of Marvel Studios' fury, a boiling point reached after months of behind-the-scenes drama. The drastic decision to recast Deadpool with Justin Baldoni is described as a power move of staggering proportions, a brutal message sent across the industry. How could this happen? How could Reynolds, a seemingly Teflon figure in Hollywood, find himself not just losing a role but becoming the subject of public ridicule? Some speculate that Reynolds' entanglement in a deeply personal and increasingly messy controversy made him a liability too significant for the studio to ignore. Others whisper that Marvel, perhaps strategically, had long favored Baldoni, viewing him as a less volatile, controversy-free alternative amidst the ever-intensifying storm surrounding Reynolds.
Dear Judge Lyman, as counsel for Wayfarer Studios LLC, Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, It Ends With Us Movie LLC, Melissa Nathan, the Agency Group PR LLC, and Jennifer Abel, collectively the Wayfarer parties, we write to advise the court of an issue that the Wayfarer parties wish to address at the upcoming conference on Monday, February 3rd, 2025.
At the heart of Reynolds' spectacular downfall lies a tangled web of ego, betrayal, and a deeply personal feud that spiraled into a career catastrophe. Insiders suggest that Reynolds' own actions, his unchecked hubris, and a miscalculated attempt to weaponize his Deadpool persona in a petty squabble ultimately cost him the very role that catapulted him to global superstardom. The stakes are now astronomically high. Reynolds isn't just facing the loss of Deadpool. His once sterling reputation, meticulously crafted over years of charming interviews and self-deprecating humor, is being dragged through the mud. And Joe Rogan's very public takedown, broadcast to millions of listeners, ensures that every corner of the entertainment world and beyond witnesses the magnitude of Ryan Reynolds' fall from grace. Prepare to witness a Hollywood drama unlike any other, a cautionary tale where ego clashes with consequence, betrayal meets public shaming, and the seemingly invincible can be brought crashing down in spectacular fashion.
And that's part of the point that Justin's team is making in kind of complying with what they're viewing as threats made on her behalf against Justin, is like, well, there's this financial consequence to everything in addition to the strike consequences too, right? So they filmed May to June, then shut down for the strike, and then they were down until January. But I think that the strike lifted in November, but then she had all these return to work provisions.
The saga exploded with the unthinkable announcement. Ryan Reynolds, allegedly stripped of the Deadpool mantle, replaced by Justin Baldoni. Yes, the sarcastic, fourth-wall-breaking, red-suited anti-hero, A character Reynolds seemed to have personally willed into mainstream consciousness has been ripped from his grasp. Hollywood insiders whisper of Marvel Studios' uncontainable fury, a reaction to the escalating off-screen drama that had become inextricably linked to Reynolds' name. The studio, in what many perceive as an astonishingly decisive power play, reportedly severed ties, effectively recasting Deadpool and handing the coveted role to Baldoni. How could such a dramatic shift occur? Rumors swirl that Reynolds, blinded by his own star power, flew too close to the sun. His entanglement in a personal controversy, a feud so toxic and public, allegedly painted him as a liability Marvel Studios could no longer afford. Conversely, speculation suggests that Marvel might have been strategically positioning Baldoni all along, quietly grooming him as a safer, less controversial alternative, especially in stark contrast to the ever-intensifying firestorm engulfing Reynolds.
He claims she tried to take over his movie because she has a history of saying, okay, I'll be the star, but what I secretly want to do is direct it and edit it and produce it. I want all the roles for me and only me. I want full control because I am a controlling bully. That Justin Baldoni, ultimately, by the time they got to the premiere, was mandated by Blake Lively to spend the night in the basement away from his co-stars and didn't even get to see the final cut of his own movie because Blake Lively insisted that she be the one to approve it.
But what exactly did Ryan Reynolds do to so drastically jeopardize his career, to trigger such a swift and decisive response from a studio as powerful as Marvel? The answer, according to insiders, is as bizarre as it is self-destructive. He allegedly crossed a line by mocking Justin Baldoni in a deeply personal and incredibly public way. Recall the festering personal feud between Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively, and Baldoni. Reports now claim that Ryan, in a stunningly misjudged move, couldn't resist inserting himself into the conflict, leveraging his immense Deadpool clout to take petty potshots at Baldoni. The allegations suggest he went so far as to weave a thinly veiled parody of Baldoni directly into a Deadpool movie character. Joe Rogan himself, in his now infamous podcast episode, pointedly noted how Reynolds seemingly weaponized Deadpool, using the character as a vehicle to settle personal scores, publicly roasting Reynolds for such a brazen and unprofessional act.
Was what Blake says, a conversation that she heard had taken place with Steve Sarowitz. Steve Sarowitz is the head of Wayfair Studios. He's the co-founder of Wayfair Studios, along with Justin. And she says in this lawsuit that, and is it interesting? She says, this is what I heard, he said, but it's presented as a quote in the lawsuit. She says that Steve said, I will protect the studio like Israel protected itself from Hamas.
In a recent podcast episode that sent shockwaves through Hollywood, Joe Rogan unleashed a scathing critique of Ryan Reynolds, openly ridiculing the actor for what Rogan perceived as a self-inflicted career wound. Rogan painted a picture of Reynolds as a man consumed by ego, someone who allowed a personal vendetta to eclipse his professional judgment, ultimately sabotaging his own iconic role. Deadpool just got dead for Ryan Reynolds, Rogan quipped, the jest echoing across social media and amplifying the sense of Reynolds' humiliation. Rogan's massive audience, millions strong, heard him mock Reynolds for losing his grip on a character he seemingly believed he owned, a character that had become inextricably linked to his identity as a performer. While Rogan is no stranger to calling out Hollywood figures, his laser focus on Ryan Reynolds, an actor typically perceived as universally beloved and immune to such public criticism, was truly shocking. Rogan's rant portrayed Reynolds as arrogant and profoundly short-sighted, a star who lacked the self-awareness to separate personal conflicts from professional responsibilities. The public drubbing was brutal, the message unmistakable. Reynolds had not just lost a role, he had become a cautionary tale. Imagine the sting of such public humiliation. To not only lose your most iconic role, the character that defined a career chapter, but to then endure Joe Rogan, a cultural force in his own right, publicly laughing at your downfall, dissecting your missteps for millions to hear. It's a level of public shaming rarely experienced by even the most scrutinized of Hollywood superstars. And where, amidst this unfolding career catastrophe, is Blake Lively. Sources indicate she is far from removed from the fallout. In fact, she is reportedly livid. Blake is allegedly consumed by fury and distress over Ryan's Deadpool disaster. Insiders claim the Deadpool role wasn't just a job for Reynolds. It was an integral part of their family's brand, a cornerstone of their carefully constructed Hollywood image. With its sudden and dramatic loss, reports suggest Blake entered panic mode, allegedly convening emergency meetings with crisis PR teams in a desperate attempt to control the spiraling narrative and mitigate the damage. Some whispers even suggest she harbors resentment towards Marvel and Baldoni, fueling theories of a conspiracy designed to bring down her husband. Conversely, other accounts hint at a different kind of resentment, an internal blame directed at Ryan himself, a recognition that his own antics, as some insiders delicately put it, had ultimately backfired, impacting both of their careers and reputations. The deep entanglement of Blake in the initial feud with Baldoni, her unwavering support and public defense, now casts a long shadow over the entire debacle, with some suggesting her actions and the subsequent fallout have cost Ryan dearly.
He and 9 other plaintiffs, including his publicists, have brought a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, essentially alleging them of libel and false light invasion of privacy. So Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, he told BBC's partner CBS that the newspaper aided and abetted a smear campaign designed to revitalise Lively's.
The situation has deteriorated to such a point that onlookers are beginning to question whether this once golden Hollywood power couple is finally cracking under the immense pressure. Ryan's loss of Deadpool was undeniably jaw-dropping, a career blow of significant magnitude, but it was merely the opening act in what was to become an even more devastating unraveling. To fully grasp the depth of Ryan Reynolds' world implosion, we must rewind and examine the wider war that has been raging in Hollywood, the escalating conflict between the Reynolds-Lively power duo and Justin Baldoni. What began as a seemingly contained on-set dispute has metastasized into a full-blown legal battle royale, dragging studios, lawsuits, and now career casualties into its vortex. The genesis of this Hollywood inferno can be traced back to Blake Lively's accusations against Justin Baldoni, her co-star and director on It Ends With Us, accusations of harassment and misconduct leveled late last year. She painted a portrait of Baldoni as creating a hostile work environment, even alleging a calculated smear campaign designed to tarnish her reputation. Baldoni vehemently denied these allegations, and in a dramatic counteroffensive launched in January, he filed a staggering $400 million lawsuit against Lively and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, accusing them of extortion and defamation. Baldoni's legal team alleges Reynolds aggressively berated him during a confrontation, and that Team Lively orchestrated a vicious smear campaign to damage Baldoni's career. The feud became so public, so toxic, that a judge was forced to issue a warning, urging all parties to cease litigating their grievances in the media, lest the conflict devolve into a complete spectacle. But behind the closed doors of Hollywood power, things reportedly became even more acrimonious. Baldoni's camp alleges that Reynolds and Lively leveraged Ryan's considerable clout within the industry to punish Baldoni. And this is where the Deadpool controversy truly takes center stage. Marvel Studios itself was unwillingly dragged into this increasingly messy feud. Baldoni's legal team produced what many consider eyebrow-raising evidence, suggesting that Reynolds inserted a mocking caricature of Baldoni directly into the latest Deadpool film. The character, dubbed Nice Pool, is described as a man-bun-wearing, excessively woke version of Deadpool, widely interpreted as a thinly veiled jab at Baldoni. In one scene that has since become infamous within Hollywood gossip circles, Nice Pool reportedly makes snide, body-shaming comments about a female character's postpartum physique and self-proclaims himself a feminist, all while sporting Baldoni's signature hairstyle. For anyone even casually following the Lively Baldoni feud, the references were blindingly obvious. Recall that Blake Lively's initial allegations included claims that Baldoni had fat-shamed her postpartum body and that Baldoni frequently publicly identifies himself as a feminist ally.
Understand it. They're sort of radioactive. In one breath, Blake Lively is saying she was the subject of serious harassment during the filming of It Ends With Us, and now they're making light of it on SNL's 50th reunion show. So tonally, it does seem off, and I can imagine people just wanting to stay away from it. You're going to catch shrapnel if you get involved in this drama at this point.
Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, went on record stating there was no question Reynolds was directly targeting Justin with the Nice Pool character. He openly criticized Reynolds, arguing, If your wife is claiming harassment, you don't make fun of the accused. It's a serious issue. Decrying the tastelessness of Reynolds turning a harassment claim into a joke and a punchline within a blockbuster film. The evidence trail extends further. Baldoni's legal team reportedly sent a formal letter to Disney and Marvel, demanding they preserve all documents related to the creation of Nice Pool. Their suspicion is that Reynolds, who held writing and producing credits on the Deadpool project, deliberately added the character after a heated confrontation with Baldoni on January 4th. Baldoni subsequently amended his lawsuit to explicitly include these allegations, accusing Reynolds of targeted bullying and defamation via the Deadpool film itself. The amended suit details how Reynolds allegedly portrayed Nice Pool as a vicious caricature, a faux feminist figure designed to mock Baldoni, and then, in a particularly pointed move, had the character brutally killed off by Lady Deadpool, a character voiced by none other than Blake Lively. The implication is stark and unsettling. Reynolds and Lively seemingly wrote themselves into the Deadpool narrative as heroes, symbolically vanquishing a Baldoni stand-in within the film itself. Baldoni's team characterizes this as a transparent and mocking portrayal, reflecting Ryan's warped view of him. The notion that a Marvel movie, a global entertainment behemoth, was allegedly weaponized as a tool in a personal feud has sent shockwaves of disbelief and horror through Hollywood.
That she became uncomfortable with Justin Baldoni yesterday while she was filming. She states that Mr. Baldoni put his bare hands on her backside and said that he was trying to help her with her posture. Complainant immediately voiced her displeasure with being touched on an intimate part of her body, and Mr. Baldoni responded with, "It's fine, I'm totally hot for my wife," in a dismissive tone.
Hollywood has been watching this escalating feud with a mixture of horror and morbid fascination. Now, studios are reportedly reacting in ways that spell significant trouble for Ryan Reynolds. Marvel and Disney, notoriously protective of their meticulously crafted brand image, were allegedly livid at seeing their flagship blockbuster franchise dragged into the messy quagmire of a civil lawsuit. The moment legal letters landed on the desks of Marvel president Kevin Feige and Disney CEO Bob Iger, industry insiders suggest, serious questions began to be raised about Ryan Reynolds' judgment and the potential liability he now represented. This is widely speculated to be the catalyst for the drastic decision to bench Reynolds from Deadpool, a move that would have been unthinkable just months prior. No major studio, especially not Disney or Marvel, wants an A-list star who is airing personal dirty laundry through their billion-dollar movies, or who poses such a significant risk of legal and PR fallout. Industry insiders further suggest that other studios are also developing cold feet about working with Reynolds. The fear is that any project associated with him could become collateral damage in the ongoing Baldoni feud, a risk many studios are increasingly unwilling to take. Even some of Reynolds' major endorsement partners and brands are reportedly quietly distancing themselves, adopting a wait-and-see approach until the controversy subsides. The once charming, perpetually bankable Ryan Reynolds, a figure who seemingly could do no wrong in the eyes of Hollywood and the public, is suddenly looking, in industry terms, radioactive to corporate sponsors. It's a stunning and precipitous fall for an actor who, until recently, occupied a seemingly untouchable position in the entertainment industry. And what of Justin Baldoni amidst this Hollywood firestorm? In a twist of ironic fate, this mega conflict has catapulted Baldoni's name into the spotlight like never before. Just a year ago, Baldoni was primarily known within the niche worlds of romantic comedies and CW television dramas. Now, he is rapidly becoming known as the guy who took down Ryan Reynolds, at least in the court of public opinion. In a bizarre Hollywood reversal, Baldoni might actually emerge from this conflict in a stronger position than ever before. He is being positioned as the underdog, the principled fighter who stood his ground against Hollywood's golden couple, refusing to be bullied or intimidated. While Reynolds' career prospects appear to be dimming, Baldoni's career is quietly and perhaps unexpectedly booming. Buzz is circulating that he is fielding new offers, and some insiders even whisper that Marvel, in a stunning turn of events, gave him an early look for a different superhero gig, contingent on him clearing the Deadpool-related drama. And of course, the ultimate prize, the potential to inherit the Deadpool mantle itself, hangs tantalizingly in the air. Baldoni has remained publicly silent on the Deadpool recasting rumors, but behind closed doors, industry insiders suggest, he must be quietly, and perhaps justifiably, grinning. The role Ryan Reynolds arrogantly assumed he would play forever is now potentially Justin Baldoni's ticket to A-list superstardom. Talk about a Hollywood comeback story. Just months ago, Baldoni faced the risk of being blacklisted by a powerful couple. Today, he is viewed by some as a principled fighter who toppled a Hollywood king.
Asking for the gag order and explaining how he's talking too much. He's threatening to post stuff on public sites. So what I think is, this looks good for Baldoni, right? He's like, we want to make it all public. And sometimes lawyers can do this knowing that they can't actually do what they say they're going to do.
Meanwhile, it is difficult to overstate just how damaging this entire saga has become for Reynolds and Lively. Ryan's carefully cultivated image as the funny, lovable everyman, the charming jokester, is now in tatters. He is increasingly portrayed as a man who allowed a personal vendetta to derail a massive franchise, a figure whose arrogance finally caught up with him in the most public and humiliating way possible. For years, Reynolds blurred the lines between himself and Deadpool, gleefully breaking the fourth wall, both on and off screen, reveling in the rebellious, rule-breaking persona. Remember his audacious leak of Deadpool test footage in 2014, a move widely credited with forcing the studio's hand and greenlighting the project. That same rebellious confidence, once perceived as charming and innovative, now comes across as unchecked hubris. He seemingly assumed he could do anything with the character, even weaponize it for personal revenge, and that Disney and Marvel would simply laugh it off, tolerating his antics as part of the Reynolds Deadpool brand. He assumed wrong, and Blake Lively, who until recently enjoyed a sterling reputation as a talented actress and style icon, is now deeply entangled in this unfolding mess. Her decision to go nuclear on Baldoni, launching the initial offensive and setting the events in motion, has ultimately dragged her husband into a war that has spectacularly blown up in both of their faces. Some Hollywood commentators are now suggesting that Blake's aggressive tactics have backfired spectacularly, making both her and Ryan look vindictive, unprofessional, and ultimately, perhaps, untouchable, but in the worst possible way. It's a tragic reversal of fortune, a stark contrast to just a year ago when Ryan and Blake were Hollywood darlings, seemingly impervious to scandal or career setbacks. Now, they are fighting tooth and nail to salvage their reputations and their careers. The receipts, as they say, are all out in the open. The court filings, the leaked clips, the insider reports, Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit, and Reynolds' alleged Deadpool mischief. All are documented, parsed, and dissected for the world to see. Marvel's top brass has become directly involved. Legal teams on all sides are flexing their considerable muscle. And even outspoken figures like Joe Rogan are publicly weighing in, adding their commentary to the escalating drama. This isn't mere tabloid gossip. It's a Hollywood war gone horribly wrong, backed by a mountain of real evidence. And that evidence, in the court of public opinion, overwhelmingly casts Reynolds and Lively as the instigators, the aggressors who went too far, while Baldoni emerges as the principled figure who stood up to them and, against all odds, triumphed. No matter how the official legal battle ultimately shakes out, and their court trial is scheduled for next year, in the court of public opinion, Ryan Reynolds is already looking guilty of ego and profound misjudgment, while Justin Baldoni has scored a major, career-defining vindication. In the end, the fallout for Ryan Reynolds is nothing short of devastating. He has been effectively exiled from the very franchise he revitalized, forced to watch as Deadpool, his pride and joy, slips into someone else's hands. And to add insult to injury, Joe Rogan's public thrashing, amplified across the internet, has ensured that the whole world witnesses and understands the magnitude of Ryan's embarrassment. Rogan didn't just critique Reynolds. He rubbed salt in the wound, openly laughing at how Reynolds had essentially gotten himself kicked out of Deadpool. It's the kind of public shaming that will likely haunt Reynolds for years to come. Blake Lively's involvement, her initial decision to launch the offensive against Baldoni, has undeniably made everything worse. setting in motion a chain of events that ultimately led to her husband's undoing. Blake surely never imagined that her pursuit of justice, as she perceived it, would culminate in Ryan losing a career-defining role, and both of their reputations taking such a catastrophic hit. Now, a dark cloud hangs over both of them. Hollywood insiders are quietly questioning whether the once unstoppable Lively Reynolds power couple is truly worth the trouble anymore. Their judgment, their credibility, their bankability, it's all under fire. If they genuinely believed their combined star power made them untouchable, they are learning a harsh and very public lesson. No one, not even in Hollywood, is truly immune to the consequences of their own actions.
Justin says that Blake was determined to make him the real-life villain in her story because she wasn't doing well on the promo tour for the movie. It was very tone-deaf. Her hair care line wasn't doing well. She was trying to sell booze while talking about domestic violence. Justin says the war between himself and Blake really started in May 2023 when they started shooting the movie. He claims that she was organizing a takeover strategy.
Ryan Reynolds, once the king of Hollywood charm, thought he owned Deadpool. But now he's watching his carefully constructed empire crumble around him. Joe Rogan's laughter echoing in the background as a constant reminder of his spectacular downfall. One industry pundit, attempting to sum up the magnitude of the disaster, quipped, "Ryan Reynolds just learned a billion-dollar lesson in humility Hollywood style." Indeed, Reynolds must feel as if the rug has been violently pulled out from under his entire career. Studios, once eager to collaborate, have turned wary. Public opinion, once overwhelmingly positive, has soured. And even fellow celebrities, sensing weakness, are taking public shots at his expense. It's a Hollywood downfall of truly epic proportions. A cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones throughout studio backlots and power lunches. On the flip side, Justin Baldoni, the unlikely underdog in this saga, is quietly emerging as the clear winner. He stood his ground, refused to be intimidated, and now finds himself rising from the ashes of this controversy, poised to step into bigger shoes, perhaps even, incredibly, into a Deadpool mask. While Ryan and Blake are left to pick up the shattered pieces of their reputations and careers, Baldoni's star is ascendant, his future brighter than ever. The contrast is almost poetic. The once cocky superstar in freefall, while the underdog he underestimated is claiming victory, and potentially his crown. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively have fallen further from grace than anyone, perhaps even themselves, could have imagined. Their Hollywood fairy tale has morphed into a stark cautionary tale, a modern-day Icarus story played out on the global stage. And as for Deadpool, well, Deadpool is moving on, evolving, and incredibly thriving without Ryan Reynolds, a sentence that would have been utterly unthinkable until this dramatic Hollywood reversal. In this high-stakes saga of fame, pride, and calculated scheming, Justin Baldoni wins big, and the Reynolds-Lively power duo is left in shambles. A stark and unforgettable reminder that hubris, in the end, always comes before the fall. Ryan Reynolds has learned that lesson the hard way, and Joe Rogan, with his millions of listeners, made absolutely certain that everyone was watching as he hit the ground. Now the question remains, what will you take away from this explosive Hollywood downfall? Is this justice served, or a cautionary tale about the fickle nature of fame? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the real stories behind the headlines. Because in Hollywood, the drama never truly ends. It just keeps evolving.